Hello and welcome to Ex-Witness a Week. I'm your host, Jonathan. Hope you're having a great day. Well, new development in JW land. If you go to their website, jw.org, you're going to find something missing. Yes, the infamous video where Sonia Erickson has been disfellowshipped is no longer available. Let's talk about that.
Don't sue me, bro.
So this development of the video that we know so well as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses came up on my news feed just this morning. Why is this important? Because this video has been an example of what it's like to experience being disfellowshipped, and it's something that the governing body does not want the general public to know very well, and governments, courts, they don't want them to know about that. So let's take a look at that video just to refresh our memories, and we will talk about what this means.
It feels so good to be with my family and friends. When I'm with the brothers and sisters in our congregation, it's the best place I could be. My children and I are so happy now. But it hasn't always been this way. My parents were missionaries when my mom got pregnant with me. Mom and Dad were very zealous, and people just assumed that I would follow in their footsteps. And for a while, I did. I was the model child who was always held up as an example. Sure, the attention boosted my self-confidence, but it also put me under enormous pressure. It was like everyone was watching me, and I couldn't make a mistake. In my mid-teens, I began to feel torn. I liked the truth, but I felt so confined. I didn't tell anyone how I felt. I just pretended everything was all right and went through the motions. I envied kids who didn't have to live under so many restrictions. And if they got the truth later in life, they got to experience the best of both worlds. I thought maybe things would improve after I graduated high school. But then at my new job, I met Eric. He truly understood me. He made me feel special. And I loved him. I loved him. In many ways, I felt free. For the first time in my life, I could just do what I wanted. It wasn't long before our relationship became intimate. I felt guilt at first, but after a while, it just seemed that this is what two people who love each other do. And I was willing to give up everything for him. Everything. Looking back, my parents tried hard to do the right thing. To do things Jehovah's way. But because I didn't have a hatred for what's bad, I couldn't see anything wrong with my choices. This eventually led me to do things I later regretted. I ended up getting disfellowshipped.
Sonia Erickson has been disfellowshipped.
It crushed my whole family.
Okay, to continue the meeting, we may remember last month's service.
Later, My father explained to me that I couldn't remain in the home because I refused to change my lifestyle. He told me I was having a negative effect on my younger brother and sister. Then I'm out of this house. I was determined to do what I wanted. When I left home that day, all I could think about was Eric. I didn't even care that my parents' hearts were breaking. I didn't think about the devastation and disappointment that I had caused them. I blamed my parents for my situation. I even blamed Jehovah. My family missed me so much, even after all I had done. What helped them to remain loyal to Jehovah for the many years I was disfellowshipped? It was the Bible account of Aaron. Jehovah directly judged 2 of Aaron's sons and put them to death. In this case, Jehovah asked Aaron and his family not to mourn in order to show the entire nation that they supported Jehovah's judgment. Mom and Dad saw that they needed to be loyal, just like Aaron. They loved me and wanted me to come back to Jehovah. I tried to contact them. I just wanted to talk and to hear their voice. I missed being with my family. And they thought about reaching out to me. But they knew that if they had associated with me, even a little, just to check on me, that small dose of association might have satisfied me. It could have made me think that there was no need to return to Jehovah. I was disfellowshipped for more than 15 years. I had 2 children now, and as time went by, I thought about their future. I thought more and more about returning to Jehovah in the congregation, but I didn't feel worthy.
Psalm 86.
One day, 2 elders stopped by and kindly reminded me that Jehovah wants me to return to him. They showed me Psalm 86, verse 5, where it says that Jehovah is ready to forgive.
Ready to forgive.
I thought about that verse the rest of the day. Jehovah is ready to forgive. So I decided to go to the Kingdom Hall for the first time in many years.
Civic remorse is healthy. It can move us to take positive steps to correct our mistakes.
It made me realize just how far off track I had gotten. I was determined to qualify for reinstatement. Nearly a year later,
Before we begin the parts,
my reinstatement was announced to the congregation.
Sonia Erickson is reinstated as one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
I was so happy. The brothers and sisters welcomed me very warmly. Being back together again with my family and Jehovah made me feel so good. I knew this is where I needed to be, and I didn't ever want to leave again.
So the experience that this fictional character, Sonia Erickson, experienced was that she was an example Jehovah's Witness as a child. So she grew up in the organization, being a favorite, if you will, doing talks in different parts and going out in field service. It would seem that her parents were highly regarded when she was a child. Her parents were actually pioneers. And then as she started to get a little older, she realized that she no longer felt the same feelings about being a Jehovah's Witness. It felt like she was being cramped, like it was pressing in on her, that she didn't have the same freedoms that you would expect as a young person, freedoms that you would expect as a human being to be able to do the things that within reason that you want to do. The way that they depict her here in the video, she seems like she's sad. She's got something on her mind. She is preoccupied, not happy where she's at. So what does she do? Eventually, she gets herself into trouble. In trouble with conduct that is not allowed by Jehovah's Witness standards, but would be plenty okay by the world standards. The way that the actress is instructed to portray this role is somebody who's kind of self-centered, selfish, doesn't care about the family's problems, doesn't, as she says, she didn't care that their heart was breaking. But they don't take into consideration that this is a young person's life. They only have one. And she was doing what would be considered fairly normal things. She found somebody that she was interested in, or they found her, not entirely sure. She got involved with someone that she was interested in, and she formed a relationship with this person. As it said, at first she felt guilty for this because guilt is a huge thing with Jehovah's Witnesses, but eventually it seemed pretty natural because it was natural. It's not the end of the world when your kids decide to date and get involved with someone, especially if they're an adult. That is their life. They should be allowed to do that. But the whole point of this is the way that it depicts things and the resulting isolation that comes from her being disfellowshipped is that it's a bad look when it comes to the general public, when it comes to the governments, when it comes to the courts. This is something that is frequently used against them as an argument to why it's wrong, because of course it is wrong. So why is this important that this video, which you could find just recently, is no longer available? Well, you could think of it this way. You could argue that recently there has been a change to the way the terminology is. It's no longer disfellowshipping, and therefore calling it disfellowshipping is incorrect. It's confusing. But using the new term removed doesn't really change the actual physical consequences of the action. It doesn't take away the isolation. It doesn't take away the hurt feelings. It doesn't take away the loss of time that you would have with family members or friends, especially family members. So that argument that it's no longer correct, it's not the way that they do things, doesn't really fly when you find many, many examples on their website of the term disfellowshipping. So let's take a look. Okay, so here we have their website. Let's look up in the library. Let's go with videos. Let's search up the term disfellowshipping and see what we get. If it holds true that the reason they removed it is because of the terminology, we should find 0 videos that show disfellowshipping. What do we got? Look at that. There's quite a bit that have the search terms disfellowshipping included in the video. Now that's just the videos. You also have the articles. Well, look at that. Lots and lots and lots of things that have to deal with disfellowshipping. So if they were going to scrub out the term disfellowshipping for that reason, that it's different, you would find nothing here. Now, are they going to go and take every instance of their videos to where they're going to say, and if you have a family who's disfellowship and superimpose removed in some robotic voice or something, then that might be proving it true, but I don't see them doing that anytime soon, if ever. So why this particular video? Because it really puts an exclamation point on the experience of being disfellowshipped. And that is something that people find a hard time accepting. If they know about this beforehand, they are going to maybe think twice about joining an organization where they risk having that happen to them or to their own family. If there is a court case, such as in Norway, where they're highlighting how children have been mistreated and have been shunned and socially isolated, and basically it's in a form of abuse. It's a bad look if you can just pop it up on the website and there it is and play it before a judge or a jury or lawyers or what have you. So they're trying to take what is probably one of the better known examples of disfellowshipping or removing, if you will, and removing it from the website. Okay, so now it's gone. What does that mean? Treatment is still going to remain the same. There's been some minor changes to try and placate the government of Norway when it comes to children, and the little bit about being able to say hello and inviting somebody to the meeting and like, we're glad you're here, and then leaving it at that, but not being able to have any sort of other association. You find also articles, daily texts. You find study articles in the Watchtower where they still impress upon you that it's important that you limit your association with these ones and that you be faithful and loyal to the organization that Jehovah put in place. So the culture has not really changed in any significant way. You still have this treatment of people. It still hurts people. It still breaks up families. It's just a way to kind of put a smokescreen, ignore the man behind the curtain. It's still going to affect people in a negative way. Now, another thing that's important to realize is that the governing body is caught between a rock and a hard place, because when you go before a court and they say you need to change the way that you're doing things, it's wrong. They want to see results. They don't do that so you can go, nah, and just carry on with business as usual. They want to see you make some sort of an actual effort to change the way you do things. They would like to see it happen immediately and dramatically. If, say, there was a court case about the reporting of child abuse, and they were to say that you as an organization need to do this right now, or by a certain date, if you will, and then things have to change. And you just decide to sort of, we're going to gradually go into it. We're going to pick one out of 100 cases that are in files when people show up, and we'll report those. And then eventually we're going to make it 2 in 100, 3 in 100, every other one eventually, until we'll start reporting it all. And this may take years to do. That's not going to be good enough. That's not fixing the problem. That's just sort of putting your finger in the leak temporarily by letting a little bit, by stopping a little bit of it, but the problem still exists. Well, the same is true when it comes to the shunning thing. The governments, the courts, they want to see things change as far as that is concerned. But if you make such a dramatic change to where you just stop shunning altogether, as a governing body update number 69 for the year 2027 or something, and they say we are no longer removing people from the congregation, well, that's going to be a problem in the eyes of the congregants, because that's such a dramatic change. You can't ignore it. You can't not notice that you had to not talk to your kid for 20, 30, 40 years because they did something. And now it's not going to be the case. It's okay. Well, I think I'd be pretty upset by that. Same with the blood doctrine. If suddenly blood transfusions were allowed, well, how many people would be ticked off because they let their kids die or they lost a family member of some kind because they couldn't do it before? So you can't have this immediate change, but you also need to have this immediate change. So what do you do? I think the governing body is just trying to slide into this situation to where they're allowing certain things, but it's not going to get the results they're looking for. People are going to notice. I mean, think about it. We notice when a video is missing from their website. Do you think that the people in the congregations are not going to notice when something major happens in the organization? How long were we talking about beards and slacks? And that's a nothing burger. We're talking about the treatment of children. We're talking about the breaking up of families, the blood issue, so on. These are major things. So it's going to be a fight for the Jehovah's Witnesses to go ahead and crawl out of the dark ages and join modern society in realizing that certain things are okay and you don't have to destroy families or lose your children because of the interpretation of the Bible from some guy from 150 years ago or 80 years ago or whenever it was. One of these things, or in the case of shunning 1952, or was it 53? Anyway, from the early 1950s, things can change and you can be part of modern society. So it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out, what the reactions are going to be as things start to move into the 21st century. I personally just hope that they stop existing in the 21st century, but time will tell. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. I hope that you enjoyed what I've brought for you today, and please stay tuned for further content. Like, share, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I will catch you later. Bye for now.